So there's a lot of ways to do an edit, and I showed you last time about the insert, overwrite, and also to drag to a timeline like that. But I also want to show you that if I click on this source window and drag it over here, this gives me a bunch of different options. I'm holding in the right click, and I have not let go. I clicked and dragged, and it shows me I can insert, replace, overwrite, and then you have these other ones to insert after and insert before a clip. Okay, so it's just another way of accomplishing the same thing. Okay, another thing that I want to show you is you can see in this clip here that the tripod is not leveled. And it's just a very good way for me to show you some other tools that are built into Premiere. If I take a look at this video here and I look at what's on the timeline, you'll see that it progresses. These are my edits over here, and this is on my editing line. If I double click this one, what that does is it opens up this exact clip in my source. So whatever changes I make to this clip will now impact what is on the timeline. So what I want to do is I want to level this out. And so if I click under where it says Effect Controls, you'll see that you have these other tools under Video Effects. And one of them here says Motion, and there's a little arrow. I'm going to click that down, and that shows me I can change scale, position, rotation. If I change scale, I can zoom things in and out. If I change the position, I can move it left and right. But what I want to do here is I want to rotate it a little bit so that it looks like it's level. Just a little bit. And then I'm going to zoom in so that we don't see our edges here. So I'm going to increase the scale a little bit. Okay, now I might need to adjust my rotation again. And that just shows you have a bunch of different tools built in here. You can animate these things. So if you see these little stopwatches, this stopwatch means that you can animate it. So take a look at where this playhead is over here. If I want to, let's say, animate a rotation, I'm going to turn on the stopwatch. Notice it's blue, and it created a keyframe over here, which is identified where the keyframe is over on this timeline. Okay, and so then if I move the playhead in time, notice as I move this playhead, it's also moving the playhead over here. And I'm going to just change the rotation to be something silly. But you'll see now that from this keyframe to that keyframe, it's going to create an animation. Okay, that's dumb, but it just gives you an idea how these keyframes work. So I'm going to just undo that and get rid of these keyframes. But maybe I want to do a slow zoom, for example. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of this clip. I'm going to turn on the stopwatches for position and scale. I'm going to move it in time. Notice again the playhead moves there. I'm going to create, now I'm just going to zoom in. I want it to zoom in on this guy. So I'm going to zoom in, and it goes over there. And it created a keyframe just by moving that. Now I'm going to want to center it up so that it zooms in on this guy at a place where I want it to go. Okay, so what's going to happen now is it's going to do this animation. Now the camera was flipping around a little bit there, so this isn't working so grand, but you can see that this is a real basic way to do some edits and some animations. Also in here, you'll see that there's opacity. Let's go ahead and close this one down. And if I change what the opacity does is it allows me to, let's say if I have another video on top of another video like this, and I want to change the opacity so now I can see through it. So now I can do a dissolve, and I can animate this dissolve if I want to do it that way. There are other ways of creating a dissolve, but that is one of the easier ways. I mean, one of the better ways, not necessarily easier. And then we can also animate our levels of our volume, and we also have individual left and right channels that we can animate the volume levels for the individual channels. Okay. And we can also animate the panning left and right. So if you want to create the illusion of, say, a car going by and you want to make it go from your left channel to your right, you can animate it from going one side to the other side. Okay, what I'm trying to do here is to create a match action edit. So on my timeline, I have this clip of this guy. And you can see that, you can't see that he's actually kicking, but I have this shot over here where I can see that he's actually kicking. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to create the illusion that when they cut, it's all matching up here. So I'm watching his body. So at the very beginning, you see I only have this much. The very beginning of the clip started late. So his leg is already up in the air, and he's sort of leaning a little bit. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to try to find that same spot. So as the camera pans over, there was a spot. Okay, he's leaning about there. Okay, so that's going to be my edit point. You don't have to make an edit point on here. It'll automatically go where your playhead is. But if I want to just play it safe, I'll put a mark in over here, and it highlights where the edit point is going to go. And so I already have an in point and an out point over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and say insert video and audio. And so let's take a look at how that looks. Okay, now part of the problem is that there's an audio break, and that doesn't sound good, so it's calling attention to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate the audio from one and try to just match it up by first I'm going to unlink this audio. So I right click and say unlink. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this audio. All right, and so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to extend out. Let's unlink this as well. I'm going to unlink this clip here and get rid of this audio. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this out. I have to unlink this too. I have to bring this audio out so that you won't hear the edit. So let's see how that looks. See, without hearing the edit, you can see that it's a little bit more it sells a little better. All right, so I think that works pretty good. Okay, let's see this clip here now. So what I have now is the master he's applauding, he's getting an applaud. What I want to do is I want to take this clip, which I already have my in and out point. These are some of his disciples, and they're high-ranking black belts as well. What I want to do is I want to insert that over there, but I don't want to hear the audio. So there's a way of inserting just the video without the sound. What I want to do is I'm going to take this video where we see he's getting a round of applause, okay? And then these guys are not really participating, you know, so it's kind of weird. We have an applause and they're not really engaged, then people start walking off. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I keep the soundtrack consistent. And I'm going to edit it to include these guys who are standing there and applauding, and they're going to put that over there, but I want to make sure that the audio is going to come from this track, and I'm only taking the video from this track. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the targeting for this track. Okay, and so what I'm going to do now is hit overwrite, and notice what it did is that it took the video but left the audio completely untouched. So you can see now what happens is they're applauding. You're not going to hear it. And this makes for a much more smooth transition. You're not hearing the sound edit, so it's better. I still have to get rid of this piece here, but that gives you an idea. Okay, so I laid in this music underneath this edit here. And I don't really want too much of the volume of the karate class going on, so I'm just going to have it in the background just a little bit so that it's not completely gone, just the taste of it. And instead of going through every single one of these clips and doing it, what I could do is I can just copy this. So I select it, and I'm going to say Edit, Copy. Okay, and then I've already unlinked all these, so I'm going to just select all the ones. I'm selecting all the other ones that have not yet been modified. If I go underneath Edit, I can say Paste Attributes. And so here I can select Volume so that the attributes of the one that is in my clipboard, which I've selected, it's going to change automatically to match the one that I had copied. And so now I hit OK, and you'll see that it automatically changes all of the other clips to that volume level.